Dementia can be prevented. My grandma had it, my mom had it, so I'm next. Or maybe it sounds more like this. Oh, dementia can be prevented. My aunt never drank, was the most decent woman you would ever meet, and got it anyway. And my uncle, a terror of a man, never read a book in his life, lived on booze, made it to 100, and never got dementia. So what's the point of talking about prevention? I hear it all the time, and I understand why people say this. Because when you watch someone do everything right and still lose themselves, it feels like the dice were already rolled. Like genetics decides and the rest of us are just along for the ride. But the research tells a different story. So let me clear up the biggest fear, genetics. Purely genetic dementia accounts for about 5% of cases. That's it. The dementia we see in older adults, your gran, your dad, the lovely lady down the road, is to a large extent shaped by lifestyle. And let's stop for a second here. If it's true that dementia has a lot to do with lifestyle, and more research suggests that it does, then a lot of it is in our hands. But before we go any further, let's look at what we are actually trying to prevent. Dementia is a disease of the brain. Inside your skull, billions of brain cells are constantly talking to each other through tiny connections. That's how you remember your grandson's name, how you find your way home, and in general, how you function in your life. In dementia, those connections break down. The cells either die or rubbish builds up between them, so they can't communicate properly. And that's how memory goes, speech goes, reasoning goes, movement eventually goes. That's Alzheimer's disease. In vascular dementia, it's the blood vessels feeding the brain that become damaged. If you know someone with dementia, it hammers in your head, I don't want this to happen to me. You just don't say it out loud because it wouldn't be polite. But the thought is very much there, because what dementia does to people is horrendous. So what do we actually do to prevent it? When we talk about brain health, we are not talking about pricey supplements or even pricier health programs. No. We are talking about, and listen carefully here, using the brain the way it was designed to be used. And it was absolutely not designed for this overstimulating world of fast food, fast cars, and people buried in their phones. Our brains still operate as if we live in the world of food scarcity, where movement is necessary for survival, where life follows the natural rhythm of day and night, and where we live in a small social group actually talking to each other. Needless to say, there's a massive discrepancy there. And this discrepancy is the biggest reason why we struggle all those chronic diseases. Dementia is one of them. Let me bust a myth right here. There is no such thing as fully preventing dementia. But there is such a thing as brain maintenance. And it runs on the 1% rule, the rule of accumulation. What you do today doesn't look like much, but today becomes a year, and the year becomes a decade, and the decade becomes 2 decades, and so on. It's like dropping a 10p coin into a box every morning. Today is nothing, but 30 years from now, that's 10p, and you are a wealthy man. Your brain works exactly the same way. Tiny everyday choices, what you eat, how you sleep, whether you move, they are the coins. They feel like nothing today, but they accumulate over years and decades. Think of your brain like a living, breathing thing, because it is one. It has needs, just like you do. So let's look at 3 things today your brain is actually asking for. The first one is fuel. Your brain runs on energy, just like a car runs on petrol. And just like a car, the quality of the fuel matters enormously. Your brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ. Whatever you eat, it grabs 20% of the energy from it just to keep itself running. If that energy is coming from rubbish, ultra-processed food, pizza, donuts, edible things from colorful packets, you're giving your brain poor quality raw material. It's like filling a Mercedes with elderflower squash just because it smells nice. And honestly, even the most modern Mercedes isn't anywhere near your brain in complexity. It will break down on the spot. Your brain, though, keeps going for decades, struggling but going, until it doesn't, and that's dementia. If you feed your brain real food, vegetables, fruit, fish, and it gets exactly what it needs, it can produce clean energy. And then it will work the way it was designed to work. Food choices matter far more than we think when it comes to brain health. Your brain also needs oxygen, and that's movement. Your brain was designed to work with a body in motion, not a body slumped on a sofa. A slow, sedentary body equals slow thinking. It's that simple. No one can live without oxygen, and your brain can't either. Movement is what gets your blood pumping and delivers oxygen where it's needed. The other thing movement does is lifting your mood. Sitting on the sofa, eating crisps, and watching Netflix just drags you down. But a brisk walk through the woods, that's when you suddenly got fresh, crisp ideas and an inspired mood to go with them. And this isn't about marathons, honestly. It's about parking your car a bit further away every single day, walking to the shop instead of driving, dancing in the kitchen while the kettle boils, that sort of thing. Anything that gets you moving. And here comes restoration, and that is sleep. That's big, because sleep is your brain's restoration mechanism. It's non-negotiable. If you don't get enough sleep, you feel the consequences the next day. You become irritable, you can't think straight, you make mistakes, and you can barely function. If poor sleep continues for years, for decades even, toxic substances begin building up inside your brain. And one of them is beta amyloid, sticky protein linked directly to Alzheimer's disease. And how does that happen? Well, during the day, your brain's cells are busy. They produce waste, biological waste. But at night, a cleaning crew called glial cells comes in and clears the rubbish out. Because glial cells can only do their job properly during deep sleep, the rubbish goes in deep sleep. No deep sleep, no proper cleaning. The rubbish builds up. And 20 years later, you get the diagnosis. That's what non-negotiable actually means when it comes to sleep. No one can promise you a dementia-free life. I won't pretend otherwise. But the research is clear. Everyday lifestyle choices, repeated consistently over decades, strongly shape what your brain looks like at 70, 80, or 90. Because brain health runs on the rule of accumulation. What you do today and tomorrow and the day after, it all adds up. You don't start protecting your brain when you have already forgotten how to get home. You start today. So start dropping those 10p coins into the box. Pick the salad over the burger. Park your car further away. Go to bed at a sensible hour. Learn something new this week, even if you're clumsy at it. And subscribe to my channel so you can actually understand how your brain works. If you want the full picture, every pillar and the proper plan you can follow. That's what my book called How Not to Get Dementia is for. The link is in the description. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!